Hi, I'm Mimi Lien, and I'm the set designer of Marks of Red. When I had my first conversations with Shamel, the choreographer, we mostly started talking about a womb space. And so I did some visual research, and all of the spaces that I was looking at had a kind of soft feeling. I think the primary references are womb and blood, and this idea of kind of ancestral lineage having to do with motherhood. I also actually looked at some like sonogram imagery, which kind of led to, a little bit of the shaping of it and having these kind of openings that feel almost like valves of a heart. Usually at the beginning of the process, I go hunting around for a material that feels right for the project. And I thought, I probably need like red pantyhose for this. I go to the dollar store and they didn't have red pantyhose, but they did have a red do-rag. And I was like, oh my God, this is perfect. So I bought the red do-rag. I had a 1/4-inch model box. And then I just started pinning the do-rag to the box and trying to get the shape that I had in mind, which was what to me felt intuitively like a womb space. And then it turns out that the do-rag became exactly the right shape that I needed. After I made the model, I then reached a moment where I was literally like, I don't know how to make this into a full-scale object. And at that point, that's when I really started talking to the folks at Rosebrand, and like it became this really collaborative process. I've worked with Rosebrand my entire career, getting all like every project almost involves some kind of fabric from Rosebrand, but I've never worked in this close, like artistically collaborative way. We all started arriving at the conclusion that it would need to be patterned and that Rosebrand could do that for us. So basically, Jordan spent, I think, a week drafting it and figuring out these pattern lines. She basically like created a topography and then triangulated everything and like generated a pattern, showed it to me. I made some changes, and then we all kind of agreed that the only way to do this was to build a full-scale model, that we would take one pass at the sewing, kind of get a rough shape, then find a big warehouse to put up a truss and all the anchor points and set it up. And then essentially we did a fitting. There were baggy areas of fabric everywhere. We pinned it all. And then Rosebrand took it back and sewed it again. Like, for example, the door openings. We knew that they would not land in the right place if we tried to do it on the first pass. So we kind of sewed a big empty volume, pulled it into place, and then cut the doorways in situ, then added fabric on to make the tunnels. Like it really was an organic process, and quite literally like would not have happened without the help of Rosebrand and the collaboration. The ethos of Tribe, of the company, is a sort of Afrofuturist aesthetic, and I feel most happy that this space, this sort of weird organic space that feels slightly alien, feels both ancestral and futuristic. Part of my intention was to create a space that was enveloping and that would feel like you were kind of embraced on the inside, and that would feed the choreography and the dancers. And I have heard a little bit to that effect, that it feels like you're being held inside. One thing was great. I feel like when they came in, they were like, it looks just like the model. And I feel like that's always, for me, the best compliment, because we were able to achieve the design. I mean, this is not an exaggeration, but literally this piece would not exist without the collaboration with Rosebrand.